Welcome back, guys. This is VIN1499. This is a 2016 083, which is ultra white, so white with gold metallic flake, with LA30 interior, which is the red interior with standard carbon fiber. It is listed for sale for $49,000, originally $50,000, and they dropped it to $49,000, with 72,500 miles at a Lexus dealer in Maryland. So it looks like in 2019, this car had original equipment, OEM, BBS, forged wheels, but they were powder coated or painted black. So the 2016s didn't come with that option. The 2020s and some 2019s did, but in 2016 that wasn't an option. So they were obviously redone, or they're from a newer car. Now, at that time, it also looks like it had a chrome delete, it had black mirrors, probably just vinyl covered, some other things, blacked out emblems, etc. Now the current dealer that is selling this car, it has what appears to be OEM Lexus RCF, the two-door version wheels. So that means the original BBS wheels are gone, the original OEM BBS wheels are gone, and it still has the blacked out emblems, the fender emblems, the rear emblems, the GS is gone on the back, and the chrome delete and black mirrors, everything is removed. So it's back to basically stock other than the wheels and the badges. An interesting note about this car, this is one of the few factory equipped cars that had the glass brake sensors from the factory. You could buy those as a dealer installed option, but very few of these cars actually had factory glass brake sensors installed when new, and so this is one of those. Production statistics, so there were 648 out of the 2,348 cars for the US 49 that were ultra white. Very common color. Of those 648, 360 had LA30 interior, the red interior. One of 360 that were produced in this color combination. It is the most common color combination for the GSF for the US, basically North American market. 2016 specifically, 371 out of the 1,418 cars were ultra white. Of those 371, 212 had the LA30 red interior. So this car is one of 212 at its rarest. Very common to see when GSFs pop up for sale, white with red interior. So this is no exception. Carfax, Epic VIN, and AutoCheck. Carfax shows this as a 2-owner, 0-accident car. Epic VIN shows this as a 3-owner, 0-accident car. And AutoCheck shows this as a 2-owner, no accident car. So I think it's safe to say this is a 2-owner, no accident car. Previous sales. So it first went on sale March of 2016 in Valencia, California for $88,000. Looks like it sold in August of 16, so it was for sale for about 5 months, which is pretty standard of what you saw these cars when they were new. They didn't sell very quickly when they were new. November of 2019, $47,000 in Virginia with 43,000 miles. You've heard me talk about it in other videos. The end of 2019, beginning of 2020 was about as cheap as you would find these 2016, 2017 GSFs before COVID and the prices went crazy. As I said earlier in the video, when this came up for sale in November of 19, it had the black wheels, it had the chrome delete, it had the black badges, things like that. So it's had them at least since before that. From that listing, it looks like it sold 3 months later in February of 2020, so 3 months for sale. And then of course now it's come up September of 2025, almost October of 2025. $50,000 is what it was originally listed for, and it looks like the next day they dropped it to $49,000 with 72,500 miles. So now onto the pictures. So as I said, the BBS wheels, the OEM forged BBS wheels, that adds some value to me. When you see aftermarket wheels, things like that, it decreases the value, in my opinion, depending on the wheel, of course. But so this has RCF wheels. It's not a deal breaker, but to me, again, it decreases the value slightly to me. It may not to you, but to me it does. It looks like it has a nice dent in the driver's rear door. That's obviously fixable with paintless dent repair. It has maybe a chip on the passenger rear. It's hard to see. The photos aren't super high quality, but they're high enough, I guess. Other things that I see, the passenger side lower bumper has paint missing, and that's a pretty common spot to see, especially from curbs or parking blocks, things like that. But looks like there is some damage there. Another thing is, since this car originally had the comfort and convenience package, that it had they call it the applique on the rear bumper. Basically, when you open the trunk, when you drag stuff out of the trunk so it doesn't scratch the top of the rear bumper, this car was originally equipped with that. It does not have it now. So this car being 9 years old, you do see a lot of these, especially the white cars, where that piece starts to turn yellow and crack, or it picks up dirt around the edges, things like that. You can replace that. Lexus still sells that brand new, but it's probably why that was removed. The interior, it looks pretty good overall, very clean. The center console carbon fiber trim is of course delaminating. The other pictures don't really show the carbon fiber that well, so I would definitely inspect those, otherwise you'll be on the hook for quite a bit of money there. So now onto the price. I think if this car was on factory wheels, the carbon fiber was fixed, it didn't have any paint defects or anything like what it has, I think it would probably be priced pretty fair for the market. And I think considering those issues, it should probably, in my opinion, be a little bit lower than that. So like 45, 46, something like that. That would probably be more realistic of where to expect this car, especially because you may have to put some more money into it, and we'll find out how much money in the service history here shortly. So now onto the service history. So this car has not been what I would call well dealer serviced in the last 5 years or 25,000 or so miles. And we'll get into that. So the first entry of note is April of 2017. There was a buzzing noted in the engine bay. They couldn't find anything about it, and they just sent it on its way. That may have been the low pressure fuel pump, but, oh, well, the next service, also in April of 17, they did the low pressure fuel pump reprogramming. So maybe that is what that was, but obviously it seems to be resolved now. That same service, they also noted a water bottle in the engine bay causing a vibration. And I think what that means is either the water as in coolant or the reservoir for the windshield washer fluid. One of those two, but it looks like they insulated it and it doesn't rattle anymore. So that's, I don't think it was like a what you drink water bottle. July of 2017, the JLB recall was done. That's the high pressure fuel pumps. Good to see that's done. Most of these cars have had that done. Oh, that's weird. So 2017, the JLB, maybe the parts were ordered, but then August of 2019, so 2 years and a month later, the JLB recall was then done. That's kind of weird on the time frame, but whatever. September of 2019, it says a Lexus buyback, and I think that's not a lemon buyback. I think that is like Lexus had a we'll buy your car back, a buyback event. I think they just put it in there, but they were doing a pre-purchase inspection for a buyback. And so I don't think there's anything to be concerned with there, but it is something of note. May of 2020, they noted a spooling noise from the transmission. It sounds like an old supercharger. Kind of a weird description, but the tech found no issues and no stored codes. So just something of note, maybe just see if you can hear anything like that, but maybe the transmission fluid was low, or maybe something was going on there, but there's no service history on the transmission either. October of 2020, which is also the last service at 48,500 miles, so about 25,000 or so miles ago, the driver's side valve cover gasket was leaking and it was replaced. So it says they removed the fuel pump and removed the valve cover and replaced the valve cover gasket. It's not unheard of to see that on these cars, especially as these are starting to get up there in age, but this was 5 years ago. I have seen a few of them, they leak, they maybe weren't installed properly, but they get replaced under warranty. So this is probably what happened here. And so after that, there's nothing on the Carfax, nothing on the auto check as far as other service. So this car, there is no service history since 2020 and the last 25,000 miles. So that's not to say there's anything wrong with that if it's been DIY'd, if it can be proven, but if you're buying this from a dealer, they likely toss all of that. So you're gonna basically go into this assuming that nothing has been done other than oil changes, I would assume. Nothing has been done in the last 5 years, 25,000 miles. So that also means the 60,000 mile service hasn't been done. That means spark plugs, belts, hoses, fluids, transmission, differential, all of that. Assume it hasn't been done. So if you did it at the dealer, you're talking about, for a 60,000 mile service, $2,000 plus. If it needs brakes, you're talking about $2,000 plus. If any of the other carbon fiber panels on the inside, other than the center console part's about $1,300. There's 5 pieces that commonly delaminate. They can total around $8,000 if you had to replace all of those, but you can obviously send them to places like SMA Fabrication in Florida. You can use the discount code ALLTHINGSF for 10% off. Not a sponsor, I don't see a dime from it, just helping out a small business, and I believe in his work. So he'll redo them for a couple $100 a piece, and you'll be back in business. Other things I don't see on the service history, no history of the HVAC servo sweep. So that is resetting the limits. There is extended coverage for the HVAC servos, but this car is now out of that time frame for coverage. Don't see anything about the valley plate. Valley plate leak obviously needs to be inspected. Do a pre-purchase inspection on this car, make sure it's not leaking. If not, that could be another $2,000. Lower control arm bushings. Turn the wheels to the far right, far left. Look on the insides of the front tires. Make sure there's no excessive wear. If there is, tires, lower control arm bushings, and an alignment. So that could be another couple $1,000s. Well, not a couple thousand, but it'll be over $1,000 for that to replace all that. So, and finally, would I buy this car? I think this is one I would pass on at this price, unless you can get it extremely cheap, because there's such a question mark of stuff that has not been done in the past or that may need to be done. There's a lot of potential future expenses in this car. And I don't like the fact that it's not on factory wheels, or at least a high quality aftermarket wheel. It's on RCF wheels, which are much cheaper, much less expensive. And I think that it has paint issues, it has a carbon fiber delamination, the big question mark on the service history. So there's a lot going on here that if you got, let's say you paid $49,000 for this, I would easily expect you're gonna have to spend another $5,000–6,000+ on this car to bring it up to the service of where it needs to be. It may need tires, may need brakes. There's a lot of questions on it. And so for that reason, I'm out. So that's what I've got for you guys, VIN 1499. Go check it out or not, but that's what I got for you. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you soon.